The poison bottle fell from Elena Rodriguez's shaking hands. It broke on the wooden floor of the ranch house. Samuel Carter stood in the doorway. His gray eyes burned with anger and sadness that would stay with him forever. "Tell me it's not true, Elena," his voice broke like ice in winter. "Tell me you didn't do it." But the truth hung between them, heavy as snow on the Colorado mountains. 6 months of shared warmth, stolen kisses, and whispered promises, all built on the grave of a murdered man. Elena's dark hair fell over her shoulders as she dropped to her knees. Her silk nightgown clung to curves that had driven him crazy. "Sam, please let me explain." The wind howled through the valley, carrying secrets that should have stayed buried in Boston. On the frontier, a man's past could kill him. But what about a woman's? The San Luis Valley lay buried under 3 feet of snow. Samuel Carter was slowly losing his mind. Not from the cold. Not from the cattle dying in frozen fields. From loneliness that ate at him like acid. At 26, he owned 800 head of cattle and 2,000 acres of the finest grassland in Colorado. But success meant nothing when you had nobody to share it with. 3 years since his father died. 3 years of talking to no one but old Jake and the cattle. 3 years without a woman's touch. The ride into Silverton Creek took 2 hours through deep snow. Sam's breath made clouds in the cold air as he tied his horse outside Wilson's boarding house. He needed supplies, salt pork, coffee, bullets. What he didn't expect was her. Elena Rodriguez sat in the front room like a queen. Black wool dress that showed every curve of her body. Red hair pinned up to show a swan's neck that begged for a man's lips. Green eyes that held secrets deeper than mine shafts. She was reading a book of poetry in a frontier town where most folks couldn't spell their own names. Sam touched his hat. She looked up and something electric passed between them. Not recognition of faces, but of needs. Hungers. "Sir." Her voice carried the refined sound of eastern cities. "Boston maybe, or Philadelphia." "Samuel Carter. I own the Broken Arrow spread about 10 miles north." Elena Rodriguez. Recently widowed. She closed the book, finger marking her place. "I'm seeking work. Housework." The word widowed hit him like whiskey on an empty stomach. Here was a woman who understood loss. Who might understand him. "What kind of housework?" His voice came out rougher than he meant. A smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Cooking, cleaning, managing a household, whatever a man might need." The way she said whatever sent heat straight to his gut. This wasn't some farm girl blushing at shadows. This was a woman who knew exactly what she was offering. "Winter's hard up at the ranch," Sam said carefully. "Cut off from town. Just me and my foreman. I'm not afraid of being cut off, Mr. Carter. Sometimes it's better than dealing with people." Mary Wilson appeared with tea, shooting meaningful looks between them. The whole town would be talking by tomorrow. Sam didn't care. The work would be steady through spring. Room, board, and $20 a month. $30. He should have bargained. Any smart businessman would have. Instead, he found himself nodding like a schoolboy. $30 it is. "When can you start?" "Tonight, if you'll have me." Those words, "if you'll have me," spoken in that husky voice nearly broke his control. Sam cleared his throat. Loading her trunk in the wagon, he caught the scent of her perfume, lavender and something darker, more exotic. It made his hands shake as he tied down the canvas cover. The ride back to Broken Arrow passed in charged silence. Snow fell in fat flakes, wrapping them in closeness. Elena sat close beside him, her hip pressing against his thigh with every bump in the trail. He was painfully aware of her breathing, the way she tucked loose strands of hair behind her ear. "You're not what I expected," she said as they topped the hill overlooking his spread. "What did you expect?" "Someone older. More settled." The Broken Arrow stretched before them, ranch house, barns, pens, all his by blood and sweat. But seeing it through her eyes, Sam felt its emptiness like a physical ache. "I've been settled too long," he admitted. "Maybe it's time for some change." She turned to study his face in the moonlight. "Careful what you wish for, Mr. Carter. Some kinds of change can destroy a man." He should have paid attention to that warning. Should have recognized the danger in her tone. Instead, all he could think about was how her lips would taste, how her skin would feel against his. Old Jake came out of the bunkhouse as they pulled up to the main house. His weathered face looked doubtful. "This the new housekeeper?" "Elena Rodriguez," Sam said. "Mrs. Rodriguez. My foreman, Jake Thompson." Jake touched his hat, but his eyes stayed careful. "I'll help with your things." "That's very kind." As they unloaded her trunk, Sam noticed how little she'd brought. A woman running, not traveling. But running from what? "I'll show you to your room," Sam said, leading her inside. The house felt different with her in it. Warmer. More alive. Elena moved through the rooms like she belonged there, fingers trailing over furniture, walls, door frames. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "A real home." The way she said it, like she'd been searching for home her whole life, made something twist in Sam's chest. Elena Rodriguez proved to be everything Sam had dreamed of and nothing he'd prepared for. She changed the Broken Arrow from a bachelor's empty cave into something approaching civilization. Meals that were art instead of just food, deer steaks in rich wine sauce, biscuits that melted on the tongue, apple pies that made old Jake weep with joy. She mended clothes with delicate stitches, organized cupboards with military order, and filled the house with scents of beeswax and lavender. But it was the small intimacies that drove Sam to distraction. The way she hummed while kneading bread, her body swaying to some internal rhythm that made his blood pound. How she bent to build up the fire, silk stockings visible beneath her lifted skirts. The habit she had of loosening her hair before bed, running fingers through red waves while standing outlined in her bedroom doorway. She knew exactly what she was doing to him. Christmas Eve arrived with a blizzard that buried the valley in silence. Sam found Elena in the parlor, curled in his father's leather chair with a book and a glass of brandy. Firelight painted gold highlights across her skin. "Merry Christmas," she said, lifting her glass. Sam poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey. Not much of a celebration. "I've had worse." Something dark flickered across her face. "At least here I'm wanted." Wanted. The word hung between them like smoke. Elena set down her book, more poetry, he noticed, and studied him with those green eyes. "You're a puzzle, Samuel Carter. Young man with an old man's ranch. Handsome enough to have your pick of girls, but living like a monk." The whiskey burned his throat. "Maybe I'm picky. Or maybe you're afraid." "Afraid of what?" She rose from the chair in one fluid motion, moving to stand before him. Close enough that he could count the freckles on her nose. Close enough to smell that exotic perfume. "Of wanting something you can't control." Her hand touched his chest, fingers spreading over his heart. Sam's breath caught. "I'm not some farm girl who will faint at pretty words," Elena whispered. "I'm a woman who knows what she wants." "And what's that?" Instead of answering, she kissed him. Soft at first, testing, then deeper when he responded. Her tongue sliding against his with practiced skill. Sam's control shattered like winter ice. His arms went around her, pulling her against him, feeling every curve through the thin fabric of her dress. She tasted like brandy and promises, like everything he'd been starving for. Elena pulled back, breathing hard. "I should go to my room." "Should." Sam's voice was hoarse. "But will you?" Her smile was pure sin. "That depends on whether you're brave enough to follow." She walked away, hips swaying, leaving him standing there like a man struck by lightning. Sam lasted exactly 3 minutes before going after her. He found her standing by her window, still fully dressed but with her hair down, falling over her shoulders like dark water. Moonlight turned her skin to china. "I was wondering if you'd come," she said without turning around. "I shouldn't be here." "No." She faced him, and her eyes were liquid fire. "You shouldn't." But she was already unbuttoning her dress, fingers moving with deliberate slowness. The fabric whispered to the floor, revealing curves that made his mouth go dry. Full breasts that rose and fell with her quickened breathing. A waist he could span with his hands. Hips that spoke of womanliness, experience, the kind of pleasure he'd only dreamed about. God, Elena. She came to him then, pressing her naked body against his clothed one, her hands working at his shirt buttons. "I've been alone so long," she whispered against his throat. "Don't make me be alone tonight." What followed was fire and whiskey and desperate need. Sam had been with women before, saloon girls who traded bodies for coins. But this was different. Elena gave herself to him like a gift, responding to his touch with gasps and sighs that drove him wild. She guided his hands, teaching him what she liked, showing him pleasures he'd never imagined. When it was over, they lay tangled in her narrow bed, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. "Stay," she whispered. He should have returned to his own room. Should have kept some appearance of proper behavior. Instead, Sam pulled the quilt over them both and held her close. "Elena," he said into the darkness, "what happened to your husband?" Her body went tense against him. "He died. Pneumonia. That's all." A long pause. What else would there be? But something in her voice made him wonder. A careful quality, like she'd rehearsed the words. "Nothing," Sam said finally. "Nothing at all." Elena relaxed again, her breathing gradually evening out. But Sam lay awake long into the night, staring at the ceiling, trying to ignore the small voice in his head that whispered, "Everyone has secrets. Even her. Especially her." Winter deepened its grip on the San Luis Valley, and Samuel Carter fell deeper under Elena Rodriguez's spell. She moved into his bedroom without discussion, bringing her lavender scent and midnight whispers. Sam had never known such contentment. Days filled with honest work, nights filled with honest passion. She met his hunger with her own, teaching him that a woman's desire could burn as fierce as any man's. "Marry me," he said one February morning, watching her braid her hair at his mirror. Her hands stilled. "Sam. I mean it." He rose from the bed, crossing to wrap his arms around her from behind. "Come spring, we'll have the circuit preacher up from Alamosa. Make it proper." In the mirror, her green eyes met his. Something vulnerable flickered there, quickly hidden. "You don't know me well enough for marriage." "I know enough." His lips found the sensitive spot behind her ear. "I know you taste like honey in the morning. I know you cry out my name when I touch you just so. I know you're the best thing that ever happened to this ranch. And if you learn things about my past, things that might change your feelings." Sam turned her to face him. "Elena, I don't give a damn about your past. Only our future." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. My sweet, trusting Samuel. That afternoon, while Elena hung laundry and hummed a tune from her mysterious past, old Jake pulled Sam aside. "Boss, we need to talk." They walked to the barn, Jake's face grim as winter clouds. "It's about your woman." "Careful, Jake." "No, you be careful." The old foreman's voice was sharp. "I was in town yesterday, picking up supplies. Got to talking with Mary Wilson." Sam felt something cold settle in his stomach. "And?" "Woman's been asking questions about Mrs. Rodriguez's background. Seems she's been mighty curious about poison symptoms. Asked the doc about arsenic, specifically. So, maybe she's worried about rat poison around the house." Jake shook his head. "Mary wrote to her cousin in Boston. Works for the police there. Asked about a Carlos Rodriguez. Died last September." The cold in Sam's stomach spread to his chest. "What did she find?" "Man died sudden-like. Rich Spanish merchant, married 15 years to a much younger woman. No children." Jake's weathered hands twisted his hat. Symptoms matched arsenic poisoning. But the widow was already gone west before anyone thought to investigate. Sam stared at the old man, mind reeling. "You're talking about murder. I'm talking about protecting you, boy. This woman shows up out of nowhere, beautiful as sin and twice as tempting. Gets her hooks into you real quick. Makes you think with the wrong part of your body instead of your brain. That's enough." But even as Sam said it, pieces were clicking into place. Elena's nervousness whenever letters arrived from back east. Her careful questions about the local law. The way she sometimes woke from nightmares, calling out names he didn't recognize. "Where is she now?" Jake asked. Sam looked toward the house, where smoke curled from the chimney and laundry danced on the line. Where Elena waited, probably preparing another perfect meal, ready to welcome him with soft kisses and softer curves. "I don't believe it," he said finally. "Then prove me wrong. Search her things. Ask her direct." But Sam was already walking back to the house, Jake's words echoing in his head. Asterisk makes you think with the wrong part of your body instead of your brain. He found Elena in the kitchen, flour dusting her apron as she rolled out dough for biscuits. Domestic perfection, all curves and confidence and feminine grace. "You're early," she said, smiling. "Supper won't be ready for. I need to ask you something." Something in his tone made her stiffen. "What is it?" Sam studied her face, looking for tells, for guilt, for the truth he suddenly dreaded finding. "How exactly did your husband die, Elena?" Her rolling pin stilled. Color drained from her cheeks. "I told you. Pneumonia." "Did he suffer?" "Samuel, why are you?" "Did he suffer?" Elena set down the rolling pin with careful precision. "Yes. He suffered." A long pause. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. "No. From arsenic poisoning." The words hit Sam like a physical blow. He stepped back, hand instinctively moving to his gun belt. "Jesus Christ, Elena. Let me explain. You killed him." "Yes." Her chin lifted, defiant even in confession. "I killed him." The kitchen suddenly felt too small, the air too thick to breathe. This woman who had shared his bed, who had whispered sweet promises in the dark, who had made him believe in happiness again, she was a murderer. "Why?" The word came out broken. Elena's hands trembled as she untied her apron. "Because he was killing me. Slowly. With his fists, his cruelties, his demands. 15 years of marriage that was really slavery. So you poisoned him." "I freed myself." Sam backed toward the door, mind spinning. "How do I know you won't do the same to me?" Her face crumpled. "Because I love you, you fool. For the first time in my miserable life, I love someone. But love from a killer, was that love at all? Or just another kind of poison?" Outside, the wind howled like all the demons in hell. The bottle of arsenic sat on the kitchen table between them like a loaded gun. Elena had gotten it from her trunk without being asked, her movements calm despite the tears streaming down her face. "I kept it," she said quietly. "Insurance, I suppose. In case the past caught up with me." Sam couldn't take his eyes off the small brown bottle. Such an innocent thing to hold such deadly power. "I should turn you in." "Yes, you should. The law is looking for you." "I know. You used me. Seduced me to keep yourself safe." Elena flinched as if he'd struck her. "At first, yes. But not after. Never after." Sam thought about the past months. Her laughter in the morning. Her hands healing his wounds. The way she transformed his hollow house into something approaching paradise. The nights when she'd held him through his own nightmares, whispering that he was worthy of love. "If I let you go," he said slowly, "can you promise me you'll never kill again?" "I swear it." "And if you stay?" She looked up, hope and fear warring in her green eyes. "Then I'll spend every day of my life proving that I'm more than my worst moment." Outside, old Jake was waiting with the horses saddled, ready to ride for the sheriff. 3 miles through the snow to town. 3 miles to turn in the woman who'd saved him from loneliness. Sam picked up the arsenic bottle. Elena didn't flinch as he walked to the stove and threw it into the fire. The glass shattered, flames flaring green and deadly. "Carlos Rodriguez is dead," he said. "Elena Carter has never existed. Far as anyone knows, you came to Colorado a widow and will leave it a wife." She collapsed against him then, sobbing into his chest. Sam held her close, breathing in lavender and secrets and the promise of redemption. Some men were saved by God. Others by whiskey or gold or war. Samuel Carter was saved by a woman who'd murdered for love. Under the Colorado moon, stranger things had happened.